Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Family Show, the very awesome Family Show, Season 2, Episode 19, with Denise uh, Turney with me today. And you're author of numerous books. And I kind of wanted to know, um, is there any characters out of your books? Because the way that I watched you read, like just excerpts of your book on your YouTube page, is there any of your characters that you're like really attached to, or any of them that you would either want to meet in real life or not meet in real life?
Wow, I gotta tell you, is the all the years I've been writing and doing radio, probably over 10 years, that's the first time I've been asked that question ever. And I've done a lot of interviews, so
Well,
thank you for
good.
that question.
I try to do that, so I'm glad I can do that right off the bat for you.
Okay. I have had someone who knows me read one of my books, Love Has Many Faces, and tell me, "You're Robin." So that was back then. I wrote that book years ago. And I said, I'm thinking, no, I'm not. But then when I reread it, I did see parts of it that reminded me of myself from that character.
Mm,
But I don't, as myself, see myself in any of the characters. I think it's impossible as any artist to completely separate yourself from your work because your work's coming from you. If I
right.
could meet a character in my any of my books, I think the one character I would meet would be Mulligan, and she's in Long Walk Up. She's a little orphan girl. She's orphaned at 6 years old, and she
Wow.
goes on to become Africa's first woman president. I would want, if I met somebody, I would want to meet her just for her courage to get through what she did, to go on to fulfill her destiny.
Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing story to come up with. And I've tried to write a fiction story before, like a longer one, not like just one in school that you write, as an exercise or whatever, but write a longer one. And what I started having trouble with, and I kind of want to know how you deal with it, is how do you keep all the characters straight and the names straight and stuff as you get into it? Because I try to get into it, and once you get it, like for me, it was like past 5 or 6 names and like backstory, it was hard to keep straight. And so, is there any times where you've had trouble doing that in your books?
Actually, I have found with readers, and I'm going to go back to some of my earlier novels, not Portia, but Love Has Many Faces. Some readers said there were too many characters in the story. So, one thing I would do, because that can not only confuse the author, but some readers are like, okay, who said this? Who's this now? So, I try to really focus like you would in a movie
Mm-hmm.
or a play. I try to focus on really no more than maybe five maximum characters, and really star characters, no more than three or four. So I
Right.
try to limit it that way, but I work with outlines. I do character sketches, and I'll do notes like for a novel I'm working on right now, that I'll say who the major characters are, and just some background on them, where they're from, how many siblings they have, their parents, and just keep up with that, their age, because I have to go back and refer to it as I'm writing the story to make sure I keep that straight. Once you lose a reader's confidence and they're like, wait a minute, no, that didn't fit, this character went with the other one, they might
Right.
put the book down. It's easy to lose a reader, so keeping track of that, I just keep notes from the beginning. I'll go back and refer to them, and then doing my edits, just make sure I've got those straight. If you
Right.
too many characters, I guess it could not only confuse the author, but then the readers, like, okay, who said what, who,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
sticking with the voice. If you go with first person, stay with first person. Don't switch in and out from first to third, and make sure so the reader doesn't get confused on who's speaking now, or
Right.
whose point of view is this. They don't get confused.
Right. So, how did your whole um, love of writing happen? And I say love of writing because how many books you've written, I'm sure you have to love it to do that, because there isn't always necessarily a bunch of money in it, I'm guessing, to write books. So, um, were you like a younger girl and just writing stories in a notebook when you were in school and just carried on through adulthood?
It's very interesting. I love to read. I love to read. And I can't think of Danny DeVito was in this movie. I think his wife was in it, and it was about this little girl that they had adopted, or she was their daughter, and they thought she was so different, but she loved to read. I can't Matilda.
No.
So I was like the little girl in Matilda. I love to read. I could read 30 to 50 books a week. And the librarians would ask me, do you really read all those books every week? And I would say, yes. So it was
Mm,
just that love of reading. When I was 10 years old, my sister brought a book of, she says, look what I found in the library. She brought a book of Poetry Home by Gwendolyn Brooks. And after reading all these books, scouring the library, I was surprised my sister found this book instead of me. But as I'm reading this book, I had this feeling come over me that was unlike anything I had experienced before in the book. The characters really came alive. It's like they leaped off the pages, and I could say, "Oh, that one reminds me of my aunt," or "That one reminds me of my cousin." They weren't just characters on a page anymore. When I
yeah.
put that book down, I had this feeling I cannot describe that came over me. I was 10 years old, and I said, oh, I'm a writer. And that is the best way to describe how it just, I call that my burning bush experience. And
Right.
then I started writing when I was 10 years old, and I just never stopped. I love it. You know, it's odd when you said like there's not a lot of money in it. I just uh, saw something that another author posted, and I've heard other writers say this in different groups that I'm on. And then some of them are like, it was that 21st novel, and they hit the New York Times bestseller list. Actually, an author said that. She said,
Uh,
21 books in, all these years I've been writing. She said, I cannot believe it. She said, I've been crying for 15 minutes. I
yeah.
hit the New York Times bestseller list after
Yeah.
all those years, all those books. So it can happen. I would encourage any writer, some
Oh
writers
yeah.
I've heard say 20 books in, and boom, they just made their first $1 million off of their book. So I would, if you love it, you're passionate about it, I would definitely keep at it.
Yeah, for sure. And we have a bunch of people popped in here this morning already. Construction Cronies and Our Destinations and Linda R. Arizona Insider, William Dixon, Texas Family Camping, Wandering Aces and Billy, Ava Potterfield, Nursing Our Travel Bug, Bob the Raptor Joe, Van Vita Travels. Just a lot of people popping in this morning. And kind of along that that path of um, when you're saying 20 books in and then they have the 21st one they have hit, and then some people will probably say, oh, it's like an overnight success, and they've been doing it for so long. Is that something you see a lot in the author world of people coming in, and it takes quite a few books before you have something that starts catching, or even maybe necessary to find your own voice as an author?
To find your own voice, you have to trust yourself. I do believe that to be a good writer, and I'm one of those who thinks a great artist is actually born, but you can sharpen your skill as well. And I'm talking fiction, not nonfiction.
Mhm.
But to read a lot, there is a temptation when you don't really trust yourself to read a master's work. I mean, a masterful writer. I think
Right.
Joyce Carol Oates to me is like a masterful writer, amongst others, James Baldwin. But you read their work, and then it's tempting to want to try to take on their voice. They've
Yeah.
had so much success, they're so powerful, but you have to keep writing to find your own voice, and eventually you will, because that's what's going to attract the readers. That's what's going to attract the readers to your books, when you start writing in your own voice, and it will take trust in yourself. But as far as becoming like a hit writer,
Mhm.
in the older days, you had to go through a traditional publisher, and you had to get a literary agent. A lot of times, the literary agent wanted you to be published before they took you on. Then the publisher wouldn't take you on without being published.
No, man.
So it was like this catch 20. You just couldn't find your way in. But then if you did, the big publishers put you on these big, you went on these multi-city book tours, and that's how you got out and sold your books years ago. Today, self-publishing has just taken off. And I think a lot of that has to do with technology, Amazon.com, Kindle, Barnes and Noble. You can publish books through them, and other outlets, Smashwords, ebook, and etc. But this is what I'm hearing from self-published authors. Yeah, you can have some books that just take off. Like some people have had an early vampire series that just took off.
Right.
But what I'm hearing is to really get a following, a reader following, you have to publish a book about every other month. You have
Wow.
to, and that's a lot of writing. You have to come out about every other month, and then it grows and grows and grows. And some say that around that 10th book, some is earlier, but around that 10th book, and book series help as well. That's
Mm.
when I'm hearing writers say they just see themselves go from selling maybe one book a day to three a day to it just shoots up. It just shoots
Wow.
up. And some of them are saying, I've just this is the first year I sold and earned $1 million as an author.
Wow.
And it sounds almost unbelievable. And a lot of these are names you wouldn't even know them, but it's just once a month or once every other month they're coming out with a book, coming out with a book, coming out with a book, and they build up their reader audience. And some of them, I mean, really, really take off.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm listening to you say that, the parallels between how the authors do it and how you do it here on YouTube is so similar. Like finding your own voice. Like you watch people on YouTube that you're really inspired by, and you start at first when you're shooting videos, kind of shooting like them and all that stuff, till you find your own method. And then the way you be successful is keep pumping
Yeah.
out videos like this, just like with the books they're pumping. And that's really surprising that it has to be a month and a half, because that's gotta. I mean, the people that can do that, you got to have some creative juices built up probably for years to be able to keep pumping out books like that for a while.
To pump them out and then work in the social media, paid. A lot of some of them do paid ads, but there have been a few authors, and I want to say more the sci-fi vampire folks. I don't know
Mm,
what that interest is in that field, right? That area right now, that genre of writing. But I've seen authors take off in those genres. Something if you could write something that's more unusual, not common, and but it really intrigues people. Those take off, and I've also seen historical fiction sell well.
yeah.
I've seen that sell well as also.
What are if somebody's going to go on Amazon or any of the other places? I think you're on Barnes and Noble too, correct?
Yes.
Um, and they're going to go start reading your work. What is your first few books that you tell them that you're just like super proud of, and you tell them check these ones out first, and then kind of go through the rest of the catalog?
Well, my first book, thank you for the question. My first book is Portia, and I wrote that book actually. I was serving in the United States Navy, and I think I come through boot camp, and I was stationed in Indiana, and I had a breast cancer scare. And I was in my early 20s, and I was if you get it in your it's early, it's very aggressive. So I didn't think I was going to see 23. I
Right.
really didn't. So
Wow.
I started writing these letters to my family, thanking them for their support, their love, and because I didn't know how to I tell them. I mean, it was a very real fear for me. I was terrified, and so those letters, so I got through that, and I went to a medical specialist while I was in the Navy. After I got through that, I turned it into Portia, which is written in like a memoir format. And she's a successful defense attorney in Chicago, and her mother's a school teacher, and her family's very active in the community. And it's a book about how she uses her faith, a relationship with a man she has recently met, and her family to deal with breast cancer. It's a very inspirational story. It's funny when I would go out on the road with my
Mm.
books and I tell people about Portia, they back away like they can catch it just by reading the book. And I tell them it's not a sad book. It's
Right.
a very inspiring book. You will be inspired by reading her story. But it's also very realistic because I had women who had mastectomies to read it, and then they
Right.
told me, make sure it's authentic. So that's one I definitely am. Some consider it to be like a classic. The style that it's written in is again written in memoir format, and the inspiration came from real life experiences that I had. And then my next book's Love Has Many Faces. It's a murder mystery set in New York City about an A-list actress. I mean, you think a top tier actress, but she's
Mm.
very bold, brazen, almost to the point she goes overboard with it. So she's turned a lot of people in Hollywood off, and she is down. She's really down right now. And up, she puts an ad out in the paper for a roommate in New York, and an up and coming playwright accepts, and they're nothing alike. And this is a culturally, the actress is a white lady, the playwright is a black woman, but they build this bond of friendship that is amazing. But something from one of the women's family's past comes back to haunt them. So they build this amazing friendship. People who like mystery, suspense, and they like the Hollywood arts scene. I would encourage to read Love Has Many Faces. It's a really amazing friendship book. And then there's Spiral, which is a murder mystery set in the 1940s around World War II in Memphis, Tennessee. Some people have read Spiral and told me it scared them because it's a little like Lovely Bones. There are two girls. One has like they call a seer. She has the ability to talk to people who are supposed to be dead. And there's a series of kidnappings going on, and one little girl is able to communicate with her and help her resolve who's doing this. So
Wow.
that's Spiral again in 1940s in Memphis, Tennessee. And then Long Walk Up, I that one's about an little orphan girl, 6 years old. Her father passes, then her mother in Africa, and she could stay with the village that she's in, the tribe, but she decides to just head off on her own. I actually saw a TV show where there are kids in all over the world, and some call them street children, but they don't grow up with parents. They're in different
Wow.
countries. I'm amazed at the struggles we have as adults just dealing with life.
Yeah.
But this show I saw, this little girl was about 5 or 6. Her brother was maybe 7. They slept on cardboard, just roll out cardboard and sleep on it. And they would collect tin and aluminum cans, sell them in, and their whole thing was just get through the day. Just get enough money to get enough food to get through the day, and then we'll get up and do the same thing tomorrow. So this is how Mulligan lives, but she meets a man who takes her in, and she does go on to become Africa's first woman president. So it's a very empowering book. Love Pour Over Me is a set in a college in Pennsylvania, and it's a male friendship book. So
Mm.
Love As Many Faces is more this incredible friendship between two women. Love Pour Over Me is between 5 guys from Italy, Africa, and then America. One goes on to do well in the NFL, and one's on his way in track and field to the Olympics. But this story centers around kids who grow up with a parent with alcoholism. Because the son in this story, his father has untreated alcoholism, but he does love his son. He stayed and raised him as a single parent when the mother left when the boy was 2. It's a complicated father son relationship, but also there's a soulmate relationship in here, and then the bond of the friendships. But it's also a murder mystery as well.
That's awesome. And Keto Life Adventures and Keto said, "Thank you very much for your service." And Papa Drew's RV wants to know, what did you do in the Navy when you were in there?
I can't go into the exact details. I worked with a lot of classified information. I'll say I did administrative work, but the details of what I did, you couldn't get in through the area where I was. I was also stationed in Hawaii. I was responsible for like background checks. I saw information on very senior people in and out of the military. So I'll just leave it there. But I will say administrative, and stop there with that.
That
But I
that
loved it. I loved being in the Navy. It was like everybody was your brother and your sister, and that's how the boot camp trained us. You got to look out for each other, and I did. I loved being in the service.
Yeah, and it's like you're saying, it's like a brother and sisterhood there, and you did work for Big Brothers Big Sisters, right, for a little while.
Yes, I did.
So are any now? Somebody said, "Are this character is based on you?" Are any of the characters in your book? Do any of their personalities or any like little snippets of stories come from people that you've met through all these different things that you've done?
You know what? I would imagine that I know in Portia, some of them are like based on different people in my family. I would imagine I've taken parts of people, but I haven't done what I think Stephen King did this. He read a newspaper article and decided that would be great to create a story around that. I
Mm-hmm.
can't think beyond Portia, where it's based loosely on members of my family, where I thought saw somebody and I thought, other than a Mulligan and Long Walk Up, that story, a true life story about those little kids who were street kids, loosely based Mulligan and part on that. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, I haven't taken a character, and I've also been kind of cautious about that
Right.
because one thing, if you know what, and this is a lot of people don't may not know this. Once you become really successful, I've heard people say this, the lawsuits come. If your book or your movie or your record or your YouTube or video show isn't taken off, nobody really cares. They don't really bother you. But if you start making millions and millions and
Yeah.
you're like a you don't hear entertainers talk about this, but you could get 5 to 10 lawsuits a year and you have to deal with them. So I'm always cautious. I don't want to put it too much on
Right.
somebody
Right.
and
Right.
then the book take off and they're like, you based that character on me
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
getting like a lawsuit. So I'm careful. I'm careful about because you don't know when your book might take off. You could write a book 10 years ago and suddenly something happened and it takes off all of a sudden. So you don't know that.
Right. Right. And um, yeah, I saw on your YouTube you do other stuff
Oh,
like you do speaking and stuff and give advice on your YouTube. I've noticed. And Arizona Insider. Oh, I don't know if that's me. Oh, I'm kind of getting funky here. Hold on. Hopefully, I'll pop back in here. Can you guys still hear me in the chat? Oh man. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. Hold on. Oh man. Okay, I popped back in. Oh man, that was a good conversation. Hopefully, she pops back in here. Um. Okay. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was me or her because it started kind of like freezing up on my end. Oh man, that was she was she was she was a good conversation, man. Dang it, I hate when that happens. I hate when that happens, guys. She's she does a radio show too, called the Literary Radio Show, and or no, host of a literary talk show, and it's called Off the Shelf Books Talk Radio. So you can check that out, and that's in the description there. Um, yeah, hopefully she comes back. Um, hopefully she pops back in here. Man, are the fires near me? The fires um, fires are kind of close to me, not that close. just gonna tell her. Um, sorry, guys. Anyway, um, so did I buy a scooter yet? No. And are the fires near me? Um, there was some over on the, I guess, right over here on the freeway, and I woke up again. And sometimes I feel like it's a Snoop Dogg video outside because it says, and smoky in the morning now when it gives me the weather report. So, although it's supposed to be 91 today, I know I didn't get a scooter yet. And Papa Drew, it's going to be a little minute for that because somebody decided to pull this off until I see if she pops back up. Somebody decided to get into my Walmart.com, or maybe not my Walmart.com because it didn't send me an email, but into a Walmart.com and took care of that. So she popped back in.
I missed. My computer just went. It just went. I
It's
apologize.
all right. It's all right. No, it's
And
okay.
all of a sudden,
I thought
my
I thought it
screen
was
just went
I thought it
kaput.
was I thought it was me too. So don't worry about it. It's all right. It's all right. But I kind of wanted to know when you because you're writing at 10. Um, was it kind of going through that scare yet, or that scare where you had the stuff written up for Portia? Was it kind of that pushed you into finally publishing your work and seeking to do that?
It was when I was 10 years old and I had like that burning bush experience.
Right,
I
right,
knew I had to write. It's like it came from my higher self, and I knew I had to. That's what's kept me encouraged as well.
right.
Like even for like your listeners, whatever you go after, this you're gonna. I think that resistance comes from within us as well, also. It can be discouraging. It can be, even if people are like really successful. What I was saying earlier, you get those lawsuits. You can get discouraged, and whatever, however your life goes, you can get discouraged. I always remember, why did I get into it? Why did I start doing it to begin with? So
Mm,
that's what keeps me going. Why did I start to begin with, and then continuing to write? I love to write. And then when I go out on the road and I connect with readers, particularly when readers come up to me and they've read one of my books and they tell me how much it inspired them or encouraged them.
right.
Like a lady bought Portia for her mother. Her mother was going through cancer and she was going to give up. So she read the book and she said, I'm going to continue to fight. When I hear readers tell me that, it's like, I cannot tell you,
Right.
uh, you know, how impactful that is. So that is another reward to keep me going as a writer.
It makes you feel probably happy that you wrote the book, not for yourself anymore, that you were able to help somebody, that like, oh, I wrote that book not just for me, and makes it feel like there's probably a much higher purpose for your writing than
Yes.
what you first thought about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. But just writing those characters and putting them in scenes
Right.
and
Is there is there is there any because you were mentioned Stephen King, and what he likes to do is he's kind of created a universe with his characters, and like on his Dark Tower series he put a lot of them in there. Are there any recurring characters through your books, or like little Easter eggs that you put in each of them to kind of make them your own little universe?
No, I've had readers ask me with some of my earlier books, "Oh, you should turn this into a book series." Cause people love reading book series, but I haven't yet written a book series. I am just getting ready to publish my very first young adult novel about a little girl named Rosetta, who's kind of based off of, when in spirit, Pippi
Mm,
Longstocking. Now I don't know, I'm probably older, but people who, and she was a German author who created Pippi Longstocking, but I love Pippi Longstocking when I was a little girl. She was so spunky. And
Right.
I think her mother was passed away and her father raised her. And he was always out on business trips, traveling. And
Mhm.
Pippi Longstocking did whatever she wanted to do. I just love that character. So Rosetta would be my first book series, but that's a young
Nice.
adult book. I haven't written any recurring characters in any adult novels.
Right. Right. And I was saying before we had the issue is you kind of give advice on your YouTube channel as well and some of your videos. And one of the things that really struck me, and I had to write it down because it like came out of the blue, and I don't know if you remember saying it or not, but you said you don't even know yourself. You can't tell me offhand how many lines there are in your own hands, and those are that close to you. So, um, is sharing little snippets like that with people something else that you enjoy too,
I
besides
do.
writing?
In my blog, and if anybody, any of your listeners are authors and they looking to promote their books or a product or a service as an entrepreneur or business owner, a blog, I think today is almost, I can't tell you how much traffic I get at my website, which is Chistel, CHISTELL.com. I get a lot of traffic
Mhm.
there through my blog. But yes, things I learn, and I like to share things other writer friends have tried and have worked with them, or business friends who own their own companies. But that, a lot of times we think we know everything. And then with COVID, at first I was like so stressed out. I thought we would only be out 1 or 2 weeks. I'm still working from home. What is going on? And I get upset about this or that. And then I tell myself, you know what? We have never controlled anything. This is this
Mhm.
illusion. A family member gets sick, somebody gets laid off. You think you could, for some reason we think we control things because our days go pretty. We never control things. So that's that quote. I don't even know how many lines are going back and forth across my hand. So why would I think I know everything?
Right.
And we
Right.
can't control nothing. We don't know everything. My big thing is just walk in love, be at peace, be at peace, do what I love, and let some higher power take care of the rest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and looking at that, this year should teach everybody that you can make plans, but they're just a nice idea until you can actually do them.
Yes.
So yeah. So you have that the young adult series coming out. Is there any topic that you haven't tackled yet as an author that you'd like to like you were talking about the historical fictions and stuff like that, and you've written a couple of those. Are you thinking about going into like the any other areas?
Well, a novel I'm writing on currently, this idea came to me while I was watching a TV show. It's about the sex slave trafficking. It's going to be a short novel. That one, I think more focus needs to be put on that. It's a global problem that's very hidden, the Jeffrey Epstein, but he's not the only one. And it
Yeah.
is a problem. And for particularly young people to be smart. And it's sad, with kids, with the different child abuse, different things that go on, that you
Yeah.
almost have to teach a kid. They're so innocent that you unfortunately you can't trust everybody. So you have to teach them safety. And it's just because you see an ad in a paper or a magazine, and this been going on for a long time, and it says modeling. Are you interested in being a model? And then you go to some location, and then you get snatched up. So that's a focus that I wanted to put that on. But I would love to, and I don't know how he did this. I think about Star Wars. I mean, writing those types of movies that are. He
Hmm.
wrote this one in the '70s, George
Yeah.
Lucas, and
Yeah.
then where does it seem that far fetched now? When that Star Wars first came out, it seemed like that could never ever ever happen.
Right.
As weird as it seems, we have robots right now
Yeah.
can serve you food, clean up. I was in Walmart, and I heard this machine coming by, and I'm like, what is that? I thought somebody was cleaning the floor. I looked out, it's a machine all by itself. It cleans the floor. It knows when people are coming. It'll stop, and then That blew me away. I was like, "Are
Yeah,
you kidding me?" So to be able to do something like George Lucas, I just think phenomenal, phenomenal creativity to be able to see that far ahead.
yeah.
I would love to do something like what he did. I just think it's amazing.
Well, yeah, and there's the ones at Walmart that take the inventory now too. They'll go up and down the aisles and take the inventory as they're going down and scan the whole thing. So yeah, yeah, and but it's kind of a and I've heard scientists talk about it. It's almost like a self fulfilling prophecy because they get ideas from those movies and stuff like that that they've come up with. So it's kind of crazy to think about that somebody's idea, you know.
Yep.
Oh, and construction cronies, they have robots that can install drywall now as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? It's interesting. What I remember that movie with Will Smith, I Robot. That's another one. I said, you know what? Do you think in 10 years we'll be walking down the street and a robot will be walking next to us?
Probably at this point, yeah, I wouldn't be
Oh
surprised at
my
this point.
God. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I remember my grandpa talking about it, and he was born in 1915, and it was years ago they were talking about it. But he's like, when I was born, um, I mean, they were barely flying at all. You know, there were no flights everywhere, and now you guys are walking around and you have all the information in the world in your pocket. Like I know that may not seem crazy to you guys, but the stuff that I've seen over my lifetime, the changes I've seen, is nuts. So to think in his lifetime, and it's only gotten faster. What by the end of if I'm lucky enough to get as old as he did, what kind of change is going to be over my lifetime?
Your grandfather he's still here?
No, he's not. He's not here anymore. He was about. He died about. He lived till 96.
Wow.
But it was 2000 and I think 9 or 10 when he died. But
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. He had a long life. He saw a lot of changes.
yeah, 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 yeah. He went through a lot, and it's kind of surprising. And so, how do you when you write like that uh, crime book back in the 40s? Do you go and try to find photographs and information of the town as it was back then to kind of give it a little authenticity in your books?
Well, here's another thing. Again, I'm very careful about don't want to write anything that could turn into a lawsuit. So I sometimes will make up a name of a town, but I if I do use a real town, I do research it, and I could spend months doing the research because here's the thing: if you write a historical novel, even if it's not a fully historical, readers, I kid you not, are so sharp. They could tell you something like they didn't have those types of cups back then,
Wow.
or cafes. A cafe in that city didn't serve those types of meals, or those aren't the types of hats women wore back then. So
Right.
yes, I do research it because there are readers that were so sharp. I mean, something like they could tell you the type of napkin. They didn't have paper towels back then. They didn't. So I do
Right.
research what was going on, the music, what was going on in society, how did people talk, what were the fashion clothes, the shoes men wore, women. I do that
Right.
because readers will pick that up, and if they see too many things are off, you might lose the reader.
Yeah. Yeah. And Construction Crony says, "Have you ever seen the movie Lucy?"
No, I haven't.
And Artists on the Road, Star Wars and Star Trek have definitely gave us a window into the future, and Stephen Hawking consulted on Star Trek a lot.
Oh, really? Interesting.
So that's yeah, I didn't know that either. Interesting to find out. Yeah, see, like you said, your readers put know all this stuff, and then I got people here that know all kinds of stuff too. So it's kind of amazing to find out. Um, oh man, hopefully she pops back on here. Um, oh shoot, might be buffering again, guys. Hopefully I'm still with you. If she's buffering, hopefully she pops back. Um, yeah, I love to read too. Life Adventures is Keto. Oh man, um, I'm I have friends that never could understand uh, how I could sit there and like keep reading like for hours on end, but my imagination is so vivid when I get into reading something that it comes up like a movie in my head as I'm reading it. So, oh man. Well, hopefully she pops back on again. If she doesn't, that's okay too. So, hello RVDJ, hello Muscle Car Appraisal. Yeah, and I am getting close on hours, and I appreciate all you guys being here. And yeah, she's a real cool author. If you guys are interested in her books, you can go her website, justtell.com, and check all her stuff out there for sure. All her books. Um, I think a lot of them are on Amazon as well. So yeah, she's a real interesting character. Yeah, if I can put the book, I'll never finish it. But Life Adventure with Keto had said, oh man, yeah, I enjoy her too. I enjoyed her too. So um, hopefully we'll have her back on again when she releases that next next book. So we will see. Uh, we will see about that. Uh, send her an email. Let her know. Hey, come back on when your next book drops. I hate when that happens, man. When people have bad internet and all that kind of stuff. But you know, it's also not my. Oh God, it's not mine. So, um, enjoy great content. Well, good. Lots of people in here have good content, I believe. But if you like the interviews that I do, there's a bunch on there. There's a bunch on there. Let's see. I mean, it's not the exact number because I have talked to some people that I have talked to before on my 12-hour stream and everything. But just going off of season 1 plus season 2 numbers, she is the 51st guest. Yeah, the 51st guest was today. So 51 of these live streams I've done. Wow. I didn't even really think about that until now. Wow. 51 family shows. Didn't always start out as a family show. Started out as Motivation Monday. And it started out where I might as well go over the history with you guys here. For those that haven't been here, I thought I'd go. I'll go over it with you. That's kind of a cool way to finish up. So, 51 people, 51 interviews, and it started out as Motivational Monday. I thought I was only going to have one guest a week. I thought that's all that I was going to be able to get on, and now I'm sometimes getting 2 people a day, which is kind of crazy. Um, which is kind of crazy. Construction Cronies has been one of those guests. He's been on here. So, oh, she's popping back in. Hold on 1 second, guys.
Because I do these all the time, but I don't know if it's
Hello.
my streaming or what it is.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. And I do want, I sent you an email too, and I do want to have you back again too, when you release that next book series,
Oh, well, thank you.
because that I think that'll be interesting for you doing your first series. Um, is there any age audience that you like writing more for than the other? Since this one is a young adult one, do you like writing for a younger audience?
I have had fun writing. We'll see how the readers receive my young adult writing work. My sister's a school teacher and she read it and gave me some suggestions, but we'll see how it's for kids like 8 to 13 because
Mm-hmm.
the main character is a 10-year-old girl. And anybody I would say who likes Pippi Longstocking, and she is my absolute, I love Judy Blume's characters as well. I read a lot of Judy Blume when I was a child, but Pippi Longstocking is my absolute favorite kid
Oh
character.
yeah.
She's just
Oh
so
yeah.
funky and bold. I just love her. So we'll see. I enjoyed writing about Rosetta, but I also enjoy the adult books that I write. But a part of me is wanting to maybe for the first time get out there and get do like George Lucas. I'm telling you, I just think what he did is I really, really think what he did with Star Wars, and so 40 years out ahead of time, even further out than that, I think is
Right.
amazing. I'd love to create at least one book like that.
Well, I'm sure you could do it if you really got into it. And I kind of wanted to know on that because you're talking about George Lucas, um, and you do a radio show called Off the Shelf Books Talk, right?
Yes.
Um, has there been anybody you talked to on there that's kind of made you um, kind of gave you new ideas and new tools as an author yourself, talking to other authors and kind of learning how they do stuff?
I would the thing I and I appreciate you bringing up off the shelf, so thank you. I love to talk to authors. Number one, how did they get started writing? What inspired them? And we've had authors on all over the world, and it's just amazing their stories. And very few on the show ever thought they'd be a writer. They'll say, I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be a veterinarian. And some of them entered a writing contest. Some of their friends gave them a challenge. Oh, you can't write a book. And
Right.
that's how their writing started. Some
Um,
of the most successful that the listeners have enjoyed have oddly been historical fiction. I'm going back like historical fiction that takes place during the 1910s or somewhere in there. Listeners really appreciate the historical fiction that goes way back in time. The things that I get from the authors is their inspiration for their writing, for their characters. Some write military books. Some again is they stick with romance. Some sci-fi, but their passion for what they do is what I appreciate. And I think that's what makes them successful. And I think that's what makes them enjoyable.
oh man, oh man, oh no, oh man, just see guys, this is this kind of stuff. Oh, she's so entertaining and she's got such good stories. Oh my goodness. This is uh see, I can either get angry at the internet or I can just laugh about the fact that this happened. Please go check her stuff out, guys, if you could. And go check her books out. Go check her radio show out. I don't know why, like she said, she doesn't know why she's having trouble with her stuff today either. So, oh man. And yeah, James, what's the word from your doctor? If you could let us know that too. Um, and thank you, Construction Cronies, by the way. I'm always trying to improve the guests that I have, and oh man, I'm out through, honestly, I think I'm gonna double check right now and let you know. But I think no, I got one more spot in October, and I think I'm just waiting to hear back from somebody. One more spot in October, and then I got a lot in November already filled out. So, yeah, I'm I'm trying to get more and more people on. So trying to get more and more people on. But man, she's a good guest, and definitely go check her stuff out. And if you search Denise Turney on here on YouTube, you can find her YouTube channel. Um, and she's got like little, they're like little few minutes, 3-4 minute clips on there, like reading excerpts of her book, but also she like gives out, like I was saying earlier, little pieces of advice and stuff. So it's definitely worth checking out and going and seeing her for that kind of stuff as well. But yeah, I'm excited. And I was saying to Papa Drew, it's going to be a little while for the scooter because somebody decided to use my debit card number for my PayPal at Walmart.com, and they drained it out. So I got a dispute in there, and we'll see what happens with all that. But like I was telling everybody yesterday, I back not even super long ago, that would be something that I would be sit there and be angry about like for days and days and days on end, right? Days and days on end. I'd be so angry about it and so upset about it. But I can't do anything about it, right? It happened, and there's nothing that I can control other than sending the dispute in and all that kind of stuff. There's nothing else that I can do at this time. So instead of spending time worrying about it, right, I don't want to spend time on that. So she's popping back in, yeah.
I'm on an entirely different computer.
Oh, it's all
I
right.
said
It's all right. It's all right.
the other one kept crashing, so I said, let me just get on a different laptop.
It's
So I'm
all
on a
it's
different
all it's
laptop.
all good. It's all good. And we can finish up here for sure so that we don't crash out at the last minute. Is there you must feel kind of lucky then when you were talking to all those writers and they were saying I was going to be a lawyer, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. To have that when you were 10, have that clarity, that burning bush moment, like you talked about, to know that's what you want to do. Did you see the people that you talked to that were going to do that? Did you see them find their happiness in writing where they weren't having it in that whatever traditional career, whatever they may have chosen in the first place?
Some of them continue to do like nursing and write, but they love their writing. And then I've had attorneys come on, and oddly enough, a lot of people think they want to be an attorney, but after they had entered the field, they experienced a lot of burnout. So they really did appreciate the writing. I've never interviewed anyone who regretted writing, but I've heard a lot of professional writers say if you can avoid becoming a writer, do that. Because some people think they're going to hit the New York Times bestseller list. They think they're going to become a millionaire overnight. And as we
Yeah.
were saying earlier during the interview, you might be 10 years in, you might be 20 books in before it happens. But if you love what you do, and the artist Vincent Van Gogh popped into my head. I mean, how many paintings he did while he was alive? I think he didn't even make $30 off of his
Right.
paintings. But I don't think you can buy a Vincent Van Gogh painting for under like $400,000 today. He's
Right.
the his so do your best, create your best art, and then it'll take care of itself. It may happen after you pass, it may happen during your lifetime.
Right. And the when you're saying um, they would tell them not to. I talked to a musician yesterday, and he said when people ask him, "Oh, hey, my son wants to be in music or whatever," and he would ask him why, because he's been doing it 40 years and he knows how hard of a thing it is. And so when it's something like that, don't go into it unless you love doing it and you love the fact that you
Exactly.
created something, and have it be that and not for riches and stuff. And I think that's when you're talking about lawyer stuff. I think that's what a lot of people go into being a lawyer is for. Is they hear that it's a higher paying career, and necessarily
Yes.
they could give a crap about what law is really. They see it as to make money. And so yeah, and it's a shame, but there's people I'm sure that go into medical careers for that same thing. I'd rather have a doctor that wants to do it
Oh,
to
yes.
heal people than there for a paycheck.
Oh, absolutely. So they're not giving you surgeries that you really don't need,
Right.
but they can make money off of. You don't want that. But any art form, I think, is and you hear that starving artist term because people think, oh, you should just do it because you love it. But I also think artists should be paid. Like when people
Yeah.
download an artist's music for free, or
Right.
there's piracy in books, because people put a lot of effort and work into what we do as artists. So
Yeah.
I don't like generally buy. I don't buy like get free ebooks. If it's something that I want, I will support the artist
Yeah.
and pay for it. But I wouldn't go into it thinking I'm going to become a millionaire overnight either.
Right. 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 And if they want to find um, the links to all your books, where to get them, and all your information, it's on chistel.com,
Hmm.
CHISTELL.com. And you can go check out all of Denise Turney's stuff there. And she's an awesome artist. And like I said, we'll have her back on when she's ready to release the next one. Is there one piece of advice that you give somebody out there that's on the fence of whether to chase their dream or not? Is it worth it in your opinion, even if they fail, to give it a shot and try?
Okay, here's what I would say. I heard this quote, or I heard somebody say something about this years ago. There are top 5 regrets that people who work with people in hospice have heard people say, and one is they wish they had done what they lived the life they really wanted to live. So nobody says I wish I had more money.
Mm-hmm.
It's I wish I had done what I really wanted to do. Maybe let somebody talk me out of it. Maybe their parent told them, "Oh, that you're not gonna make money out of that or whatever." Don't want to you don't want to it's the end of the road and that regret is hanging over you. I would say go for it, and then based on this interview you like such a cool dude, Bob. I would say this too. And be flexible, because
Yeah.
like with the other computer I was on shutting down, you don't know what's going to happen. So be flexible, be gracious, and I would definitely go for you don't want that regret. You don't want to look back and say, "Oh my God, I'm out of time, and I didn't live the life I wanted to live."
Yep. Yep. And that goes into my tagline. That's why I tell you guys, stop waiting for life to happen and make it
Yes.
happen.
Oh
So
yes.
I will see you guys tomorrow. And stick with me for a minute. Like I said, stop waiting for life to happen and make life happen.